Before there was a dynasty, there was just a city that needed something to believe in, searching for a new identity. Chicago in the early 1980s was a city in transition, where the steel mills were quiet and the stockyards were gone. The basketball team playing at Chicago Stadium was a ghost, barely watched and barely relevant to the people of the city. They cycled through coaches like a revolving door, lacking any clear direction. Then came 1984, a year that would forever alter the trajectory of Chicago sports and the history of the NBA. With the third overall pick in the NBA draft, the Chicago Bulls selected a 21-year-old shooting guard from North Carolina. His name was Michael Jordan, though nobody in Chicago knew yet what they had just acquired with that draft pick. They would find out soon enough, as Jordan's first season in 1984 to 1985 proved to be absolutely electric for fans. He averaged 28.2 points per game, won the NBA Rookie of the Year award, and sold out arenas across the league. But the Bulls were still a one-man show, and one man, even one as gifted as Jordan, cannot win a championship alone. The Detroit Pistons knew it, and they were ready to test the limits of this young, rising star from Chicago. Detroit's Bad Boys were a physical, aggressive team built to punish Jordan every time he touched the basketball on court. They eliminated Chicago 3 consecutive years in 1988, 1989, and 1990, leaving the Bulls searching for a new way forward. They called it the Jordan Rules, a strategy to double-team him, foul him hard, and make him pay for every point. Jordan took the beating, but he kept coming back, proving his resilience despite the relentless physical pressure from the Pistons. The turning point finally came in 1989, when the Bulls replaced head coach Doug Collins with an assistant named Phil Jackson. Jackson brought with him an offensive system called the Triangle, a fluid, spacing-based scheme designed by assistant coach Tex Winter. This system forced defenders to guard every player on the court, rather than focusing all their energy on stopping Jordan. Jordan was initially skeptical, as he had been the entire offense, and now he was being asked to share it. He eventually agreed to the change, and everything about the team's identity began to shift in a positive direction. In the 1990 to 1991 season, Jackson's first full year running the Triangle, the Bulls went 61-21. They swept the Knicks, they dismantled the Sixers, and then, finally, they broke through the wall against the Pistons, sweeping the Bad Boy Pistons in the Eastern Conference Finals. The city of Chicago lost its mind. In the NBA Finals, the Bulls faced Magic Johnson and the Los Angeles Lakers, the most glamorous franchise in basketball. Chicago dropped Game 1, but then they won the next 4, proving they were ready for the biggest stage. Michael Jordan, now playing within a system instead of just above it, was named Finals MVP for the first time. The Chicago Bulls were finally NBA champions, but they did not stop there, as their hunger for success grew. In 1992, they did it again, defeating the Portland Trail Blazers in 6 games to defend their hard-earned title. In 1993, they beat Charles Barkley and the Phoenix Suns in 6 games, securing 3 consecutive championships for Chicago. They were the first NBA team to accomplish that feat since the Boston Celtics of the 1960s had done it. Then, on October 6, 1993, Michael Jordan walked into a press conference and announced his sudden retirement from basketball. He was only 29 years old, and his father, James Jordan, had been tragically murdered during that same summer. The fire, Jordan said, was gone, and he would play professional baseball for a year and a half instead. The city would learn, for the first time, what it felt like to watch a great team without its greatest player. Scottie Pippen, Jordan's quiet counterpart, held the Bulls together, proving he was the most complete player in the game. They won 55 games in 1993 to 1994, but they fell in the second round of the playoffs that year. Then, on March 18, 1995, a 2-word fax arrived at the NBA's offices that set off the entire city. Those 2 words were simple, yet they carried the weight of 1,000 headlines. I'm back. Jordan returned wearing number 45, as his original number 23 had been retired in his honor by the Bulls. He was rusty, and the Bulls lost to the Orlando Magic in the playoffs that spring, but something was rekindled. That summer, general manager Jerry Krause made one more move, acquiring the volatile, brilliant rebounder Dennis Rodman. The Triangle now had Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman, forming a trio of a scorer, a playmaker, and a force. The 1995 to 1996 Chicago Bulls were something history rarely produces, setting a standard for excellence in the league. 72 wins and 10 losses, the greatest regular season record in NBA history at the time of their run. They tore through the playoffs, losing only 3 games total, and defeated the Seattle Supersonics for their 4th championship. Jordan reclaimed number 23, and the city erupted again, but differently this time, not with relief, but with awe. In 1997, they faced the Utah Jazz, winning in 6 games to capture yet another title for the city. In 1998, they faced the Utah Jazz again, and the series once more went to 6 hard-fought games. The last shot of Michael Jordan's career as a Bull was a pull-up jumper over Brian Russell for victory. With 5.2 seconds left, he sealed an 87-86 win, their 6th championship in 8 years of dominance. Then it ended, as Jerry Krause, the general manager who had built the dynasty, decided to break it apart. Phil Jackson was not re-signed, Jordan retired for the 2nd time, Pippen was traded, and Rodman walked away. In one summer, the greatest team in the history of the NBA was simply, and abruptly, dismantled by management. The Bulls would not make the playoffs for 6 consecutive seasons, and the stadium sat quieter than ever before. But the city had seen something that cities rarely get to see, a team that genuinely conquered the world. Jordan's face was on billboards in Tokyo, his jersey sold in Beijing, and his sneakers built a global empire. The Chicago Bulls of the 1990s didn't just win basketball games. They changed the way the planet watched sports. And they did it here, on the west side of Chicago, in the Madhouse on Madison and the United Center. Every city has a story most people never get to hear, and this is one of the greatest of all time. If you want to keep walking these streets with us, subscribe to the Chicago Cipher.